so weird.
Those jerks, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see who comes into the chat. I'm going to do some stuff here. And
I am.
there we go. I'm going to pin you out.
I'm watching the YouTube feed, and it has not gone live yet.
It will. There. Remember, it was like 10 seconds behind.
Yeah, but we've been live for 44, 45 seconds now, according to the little counting clock at the top of my screen. But man, we'll
No,
figure it
it's
out
in
one way
here.
or another.
I'm listening to it right now.
Are you really? Well, let me check my CHC podcast is live. Well, yeah, look at us. There we are.
All right.
Wow, man, we are good looking. So once again, it looks like the placeholder screen with the little countdown on it is not where the actual live broadcast ended up going.
So annoying.
Right?
So annoying.
Technology, man.
All right. Well, we won't waste any more of Cody's time here. We'll just get going.
Right on. Well,
Let's
welcome,
see if
folks.
anybody's
Welcome,
here.
friends, to the ZHZ podcast, another edition of live streaming the show. First tonight on the ZHZ podcast, we're doing we're going live, but usually in the past when we've done live streams, it's been in anticipation of an album or a single release. Right now, we've got our guest Cody Bartels. Welcome to the show, Cody. We're happy to have you. Um,
Yeah, thank you
Cody's
so
in the
much
middle
for
of a
having me
tour,
on.
man. Cody's in the middle of a tour, man. So this is rad. This is like in the middle of touring around the country and around the Western United States. So, as always, I'm Matt Allen here with the host of the ZHZ podcast, my man, Zak Davis. Zak, how are you tonight?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. I'm excited to do another live stream, and I'm excited to bring Cody on. You have I guess you have like a manager or her name. She had reached out and said, "Hey, I got a guy that is a indie country guy from Tacoma, Washington. I think he'd be a good fit for the podcast." So I was excited to hear that. Um, so tell me about what like life is like for you growing up in Tacoma, Washington.
So, I guess the best way to put it is there's a lot of different kinds of people from a lot of different places and a lot of different social classes, and it's seriously like a melting pot of an area. And I think that it was great to experience growing up there, just because I learned to deal with different kinds of people, which I think really helped me out later on in life.
Right.
Um, yeah, yeah.
Cool. So, what got you into what got you into country music, man? Is it like from family or your dad passing it on, your mom kept passing that on, or was it just something you kind of gravitated to in growing up in school? Or tell me that story.
Yeah, so I grew up listening to my dad just loves George Strait. Like he just loves him. So like we would grow up going on road trips and stuff, and my dad had one of those old school big CD binders, and they were just full of George Strait CDs. And so I'd
Nice.
pick one out, and by the end of the road trip we had listened to half of them, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's where it all started, and that's later on I started rodeoing and riding bulls, and
Oh, really? Wow.
so yeah, yeah, and so obviously there's a lot of country music that goes along with that lifestyle.
Sure.
So it's just been kind of a recurring theme in my life. Country music. So
So, when you say bull riding, did you do competition bull riding, or was it just kind of like because that's a big business.
yeah, I rode bulls in the Challenge of Champions tour in the Northwest, and then I did high school rodeo. Went to the high school finals, the national high school finals. Then got a scholarship to go to college, And that's where I kind of fell back in love with music and was like, you know, it's a lot safer. I don't get my ass handed to me over and
Yeah,
over,
well,
you
yeah.
know?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think it's a kind of a short career span for bull riders, but man, they're they're heroes. You know, like
Man,
they got
that
cojones for
takes a
sure.
level of I don't know. I mean, I guess it would have to be just like anything else in life, the perfect blend of courage, stupidity, and just adventure, man. Because that's like how do you strap yourself to the back of something that weighs that much and can do that much damage to you, man? But the thrill of it, man, that adrenaline rush has just got to be something fierce.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The only thing I've found that compares is playing on stage with a band to like a really good crowd. That's like the
Right.
closest you can get. And there is a sense of like the fear factor, right? Like you're genuinely somewhat terrified that something might happen or something might go wrong. And that doesn't happen on stage. And I think I'm grateful for that. But it's totally that same like thrill seeking kind of mindset. Like I think you said it perfect. It's like part courage, part stupidity, and part
Yeah,
just like
Absolutely,
we
man.
want to know what it's like to be on the back of a bull. So,
yeah. No, that's cool. I'm kind of like I said, but so you said how long have you been playing guitar? I imagine it's been quite a while actually. Um, when your youth
yeah, I
maybe or
started playing when I was yeah, I started playing when I was 14.
okay, it
At
sounds about right.
first, for a while, for a long time, it was kind of a hobby for me. I would just learn different songs sitting around the campfire at rodeos, learn songs that my buddies wanted me to learn and stuff. And then in college, I started writing my own songs and kind of going that direction. And then it just took off from there.
Now
All right.
you went to college in Cody, Wyoming, right?
Yeah, over in Powell, Wyoming, which is just one
Okay,
town
yeah,
over.
yeah. I'm familiar with Cody and Powell, and in fact, I've got a good friend of mine that lives in Cody that's actually going to be coming to your show at the Colonel on Saturday.
Oh, heck yeah, right on.
And if she was going to try to jump on and watch tonight. So Robin, if you're watching, shout out to Robin in Cody, the queen of the Cody Rodeo. So yeah, she's looking forward to it. I had asked her. I said, hey, have you heard of this kid? She's like, yeah, I'm actually going to see him play on Saturday night. I'm so excited. I'm like, hey, guess what? I'm actually interviewing him on my podcast, like live. So you should check it out because but
Nice.
it's rad, man.
You bet.
That's
You bet. That's super cool.
so you're so that's where you're but so that's where you're kind of ending the tour, and then you're back in Seattle for a couple of nights the next weekend, if I understand it correctly.
Yep, yep.
How is that?
Yes, sir.
Did you so when you booked this tour, it's kind of like a small, was it like a 10-day tour or so, somewhere around there, a couple weeks. Did you
Mm-hmm.
book that yourself? Like, did you self promote, like self book that, or did you go through like an agency, or how did that work out for you?
So my manager Beth, she worked for JPS Productions, and my manager Jason, has sent a couple of different artists through this region, and him and Beth both worked together to put the tour together.
Oh, cool.
And so yeah, I work through. They basically do all my booking and stuff, and I just show up and play the
You
guitar.
just show up and do you
So
have the full band with you? Is it just you or
yeah, I got the full band with me on tour. They just ran to get pizza.
no, it's all good. So you're in the
Right
hotel
on.
room now, just chillaxing, I guess, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, today was our off day, so we drove here. On the way here, we got lunch. We sat in the hot tub, took a nap, and
Heck
now
yeah.
we're gonna eat pizza. And
Mhm.
we had some. Man, I feel like it was a perfect first tour because in the first half we had so many hiccups with our gear. Like,
Oh,
in all,
yeah.
I've been gigging for like 2 years, and I never have problems with my gear. And then we leave the state, and all of a sudden,
Right.
like my
Just
pedals stopped working. My guitar player, his power supply on his pedal board went out.
oh
He
man.
um his wireless rig went out the other night. It was like, man, we're just
one thing
pulling
after
it. We're
another.
pulling through, and we're making it
It's
all work.
Right.
Yeah, I
But
was gonna say trial by
Remi-
fire, man.
right, reminds me of
hundred
years ago.
percent.
We were Zach and I were in a band. We were playing a show up in Pocatello, Idaho, and our bass player's amp just blew. And when I'm talking about blew, it was like blue sparks coming up, boom, and it was just dead.
Yep,
And
that was the end of his amp.
that was the end of
So
that amp. Luckily, it was
Yeah.
the end of
Yep.
at the end of the set on the second night we were playing. We were ready to
yeah,
pack up and head back to Salt Lake City the next morning. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's when it'll all go. That's when it'll all go south. Your gear's not gonna misbehave if you're right home. It's all easy. It's easy to swap it out, go get it fixed, replaced, whatever. That's when you hit the road. That's when the shit's gonna happen, man. But you get through it, and then you have, and you know what? No tour would be as fun if everything went smoothly because you wouldn't have the stories to tell after you're done.
right. And
100%.
you're
100%.
probably in good company too. I can imagine, the places that you're playing. Like and I don't know. I'm not like I told you earlier. It's not something I normally listen to with country, but I imagine the clubs, the saloons, the bars that you're playing in, they're pretty laid back people. I'm sure. Like they're just like,
Oh
entertain
yeah.
us when you can. Fix what you got to fix. Let's get it going. We'll be here.
Mm-hmm.
So
100%. Yep.
yeah. So what so far? So you've played. So you started your tour on the 17th. Was that right? It's
Yep.
what's
Yep.
okay. And then you had a song drop the very next day. If I believe it's called "Back to You." Is that's the
Yep.
song?
That's the
Yeah,
one.
cool. So and I just gotta say, like I sat there and went through your catalog, and like I was saying, like country for me, like I like some country, but I'm not like I was never really raised on it or whatever. But there's always this like stereotype with especially pop country, but you don't have that. You know what I mean? Like when I listen to your stuff, it's like, yeah, okay, it's country. I can hear it. I can hear the still. I can hear, the guitar. I can hear kind of the lyrical, but your singing is not quite the typical twangy voice, and the word that came to my head was like this is like indie country, it's like independent country, kind of has that indie rock feel,
It
but
feels
it's
like it
still
definitely
country.
leans into that to the honky tonk vibe, a little more of the blues rock roots, the blues roots of country music. But man, I yeah, I mean and that's the same thing. I mean, I hate to sound like we're the same person, but I mean, we have very, very, very similar musical taste, Mr. Zach and I. And I've never been, country's never been my favorite. There are country artists that I really enjoy listening to, and I respect the hell out of of anybody who is a master at their craft. But man, I have to say, I really enjoy your stuff, man. It's it really it crosses a couple of bridges. I wouldn't that I think that makes it um more accessible and more listenable to people like us that aren't necessarily the biggest country music fans, and made me a country music fan. So keep on doing what you're
Yeah, I
doing,
think
man. I think you found a groove, and you have something that has a really, unique characteristic to it that doesn't sound like everybody else, that isn't what everybody else is doing. It sounds it sounds real, it sounds genuine, and it sounds like it comes from the soul, man. So that really comes out in the music. So I have to say that I'm digging it, man. I'm digging what you're throwing down.
Thanks so much. Thank you. That means a whole lot. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think we're trying to, in a nice way, we're trying to say that you can call yourself country for sure, but you can call yourself in other genres, right? Like you actually fit in other boxes, I guess, if you will, if we're gonna separate music into boxes. But um, yeah, like when I'm listening to your stuff, it felt like real, like one of the homies, just pouring their heart out. So that's all I was trying to get at. But yeah, dude, it's good stuff. I think you're gonna go places, for sure. Like especially just hitting it as hard as you are. And what was your aha moment? Like when you were like writing music and playing, and like when was that moment where you're like, you know what, I am gonna do this like seriously, like I'm gonna put some real seriousness in this.
When I was in college, I had some roommates and we wrote songs together just for fun. And we wrote a song called "Nothing to Fear," and it's actually going to be on my upcoming EP.
Cool.
And I wrote it, and I was like, "Wow, this is cool." Like I would listen to this song. You know, this isn't
Yeah,
just me
right,
screwing around with a guitar. Like this is cool. And then we played it at the college talent talent show,
right,
and we didn't win, but we it went over like really, really well. And
right.
everybody was like, "You should have won that." You know, I think it was some dancer girl or something that won it. But we I was like, okay, like this could be the thing. Like when I quit writing Bulls, I've always like really loved adrenaline. I really like being the center of attention, to be honest. And
Right.
I was like, man, I I I almost felt like I had an identity crisis because for several years, for 4 years, I was like, I'm gonna be a world champion bull rider. I'm gonna make it happen. And so when I found songwriting and I found performing on stage, and I was like, one, this is really fun, and two,
Safer.
a lot of people are scared. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
safer, but a lot of people are scared to death to get on stage and perform.
Oh
And I
yeah, no,
loved
it's
it.
a
I
big
was
fear.
like,
Yeah.
this is legit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that I think that's where my aha moment was I was like, I could live like a bull rider and travel in a van and eat fast food and listen to loud music, but I could do it from like a different perspective. So,
Right.
um, now we're trying to be a rock star.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring up real quick before like we get way sidetracked on anything else, but I watched some of your videos and you had a bass player that was playing a ukulele bass. Is he still part of your
hmm
group?
We recently had a couple of lineup changes, and not for any reason in particular. Just um, we're
Right.
just headed in different directions.
I got you.
And so Jesse, he was playing guitar in my full band, and then when we would do a duo show, he'd play ukulele bass, and it was a lot of fun playing with him. That like he's an awesome musician, and that ukulele bass would get us so many tips at the duo
I
shows.
was
You
gonna
know,
say you
people
don't see it, you just don't see that on a stage, and so I was impressed.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, we were playing with like a ukulele bass and then a resonator guitar, and
Uh-huh.
people were like, "Wow, that's such a unique setup," and it did sound really good. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun playing with Jesse for sure.
Heck yeah. So, and we'll go back to your song that you just released, "Back to You." You want go ahead and tell us kind of what that song's about and what inspired you to write it.
So when I first wrote it, it was me, my guitar player Logan, and my buddy Kenny Callahan, and we were sitting around. I had been gigging like all summer and just hitting it really hard, 3 or 4 gigs a weekend, like
Yeah.
just grinding.
Yeah.
And um, I was like, okay, I want to write a song, but that's kind of where my head was at, was this traveling, staying in cheap hotels, not really feeling like I'm accomplishing anything in the grand scheme, and kind of just like I always relate the music industry to running on a treadmill. It's like you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing something, and then you turn
Right.
around and look, and you're like, you haven't gone anywhere,
Right.
and
And if you
um,
stop, off you go.
right, exactly, right.
Yeah.
So I guess it started as that. It started as just my pouring out my experience of like frustration almost with um learn cutting my teeth as a musician. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I related it back to later on after I got done writing it and I listened to it. I was like, wait a minute, that's kind of a rodeo song. Like the
Right.
you know, there's the rodeo cowboys experience the same things like lonesome nights out on the highway kind of idea, you know.
Sure.
um
A lot of travel
it's a
and
recurring thing for
yeah.
rock stars and rodeo riders, you know.
Yeah. That's
So
well, and I could relate because I listen to the lyrics, and I mean I haven't done a whole lot of touring, but man, I can relate. Where you're long nights on the road, spending money on gas, trying to figure out what the hell am I doing with my life, and that's usually when your family starts popping in your head, and missing home, and it's easy to fall into that,
hmm
and I think the longer you're out on the road, the harder it is to focus, not being at home, and but yeah, I like it, man. It was good soon. um we'll go ahead and put that on our Spotify playlist. We do a playlist for all the guests that come on our show, and if you want, I think that was a song you picked to put on there. If not, I'll
you
go
bet.
through. Yeah, I'll add the other one too. But so just kind of going real quick, how's you've played so far? You've played. Let's see. Now I got to find you again real quick. But you started off your tour. Where was your tour started off? Wasn't in Washington, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a pretty local show, Sumner, Washington, at a place we've played several times, Purdy's Public House, and it was Thursday, and it was like one of the first nice weather days that Washington had had in a while, and we were like, "Oh crap, there's not going to be anybody there." Like it's Thursday, and the weather was nice, and we'll see what happens. But they really like hometown. They showed up for us, so
Right on, man.
it was super cool to kick off home. And to be honest, we and this is just me being completely transparent. We as a band, it's and with me being a frontman, it being my first tour, and we're flying under my flag. It's that first set of that first show was nerve wracking. Even though it was at a
Sure.
place we had played before,
Right.
we were like, man, we really got to show up and like show people that we're going on tour and we're kicking ass. And um, it was nerve wracking. It stressed me out. And then after the first
Yeah.
set, I was like, we've put in the work already. Like this is supposed to be the fun part. And that we
Right.
all loosened up. And ever since the second set of our first show, this tour has been a lot of work, of course, but
Sure.
it's been a breeze. The boys are really on it. We're all having fun. We're getting to see parts of the country that none of us have ever seen before. I mean, last night we played in Dewey, Montana, and even the guys at the music store had never heard of it, which has us concerned. And it has a
Wow.
population of they have a population of 26 people, and 16 of
26.
them were at the show.
So you
Oh
played at a
Yeah,
wow.
club. You played at a
26.
bar for a population of 26, and I bet yeah, just about everyone that could come did show up.
I think the at one point we had 19. That was the most poppin' it got. But it
All
was such
right.
a small bar that
Right.
19 felt like a stadium show,
Well,
dude. We were
Well,
you know
freaking
what? When you're
rocking.
talking about percentage of the population of the town, that's like 85%, man. That's like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's solid, dude. So from there,
right.
but then, but you from Sumner, it looks like you were in Post Falls, Idaho, and then Missoula, Montana. How'd you like Missoula, man?
Missoula, man, that was a lot of fun. It was one of those classic 4 hour honky tonk barn burners, we call them.
Right on,
Um,
man.
it's you're playing a lot of music and you're playing for a long time, like 4 hour sets. They can kick your ass if you're not
Oh,
careful.
that's the
And
truth, man. That's the truth.
so we played really well. It's really kind of a dance hall kind of spot, and we had dancers from the first song to the last song. And I think I mean, the owner emailed my manager and was like, "Hey, we'd love to have him back next time he's through." The morning after the show, so I
There you
was
go.
like,
Right
"That's
on,
a
man.
win. That's a win.
Yeah,
I'll take it." You know.
absolutely, man. That is
I worked
definitely a win.
for several years for a company that's based out of Missoula, so I spent quite a bit of time in that town, man. And it can be a fun town, man. A lot of good
You
bars, a
bet.
lot of
You
good
bet.
restaurants, a lot of good food and drink, and they love to have a good time up there, man. That's for sure.
Heck yeah. Heck
So
yeah.
And then coming up, just to kind of give everybody a heads up, the whole reason why we're doing a live show anyway. I'm gonna section this all out as an episode later on. But you're playing April 23rd in Lewiston, right? And then the 24th in
Lewistown.
Lewistown. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. You're right. Um, and then you're playing in Helena, and then was it Gallatin Gateway on the 25th of April?
Yep, it's just outside of Bozeman. Yep.
Oh, okay, okay. And then you're going, and Cody's in Wyoming now, right? Is that right? Cody,
Yes,
Wyoming?
sir.
Y-
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're going to Cody just for one gig. Is that right? Is that what I got? Going to Cody for one gig, and then you're heading back home to Seattle, or well, I guess
Mm-hmm.
not quite Seattle, not quite home, but close, close. Yeah. So,
Yep.
what's one? So you're are you currently based out of Tacoma then?
Yep. I actually live in a motorhome behind my parents' house.
Ah,
All
nice,
right,
nice.
man.
Heck yeah, that
Yeah.
works still. What's one of the
Yep.
coolest clubs that you play out there? Like you're a regular, everybody knows your name kind of thing, like the Cheers, TV show. What's your favorite watering hole there to do your performance and cut your teeth on new stuff and
Probably the Little Red Hen, which is that place in Seattle we're playing the weekend after the tour ends, and it's a 4 hour show. It's actually a 4.5 hour show, but it
dang.
is such a fun time. Like we, it's a lot of work. You play for a long time, but it's so much fun. It's like it's one of those shows where like if you play the right kind of music, the people will dance. And they will dance all night and they will get drunk and rowdy and tip you well. And
Yep.
it's a good gig.
So
It's
if
just
you
a
work,
fun gig.
yeah. So basically, if you work them, they'll work you.
Yep. Yep. Well,
Nice.
we I never like to consider us a jam band, but I consider us a band that jams, you know?
Yeah.
So there'll be times where the people are dancing and I mean, you listen to some of the dance remixes that people make and they're 15 minutes long because they don't want to
Mm,
quit dancing after 3 minutes, you know?
right.
So we'll throw in
You
extra
just
guitar solos or maybe
yeah.
we'll yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Like it'll go from me and my
Extend it
guitar player
out.
going back and forth licks. You never know what's gonna happen. We don't even know what's gonna
Right.
happen.
I
Like
love that. It's like an improv
so.
extension. You're feeling the vibe. You're like, you can tell without even having to like actually talk to each other in the band, like, hey, they're into it. We should extend this. And sometimes
Hmm.
there's like you would lead that on or the drummer would, and you just keep playing, like, oh, I guess we're still playing, and just kind of get in the groove. Our old band used to do that when we were trying to stretch out time. Or we'd have like
Yep.
enough, we'd have enough for like we'd get booked for 3 hour gigs and we didn't have enough material for 3 hours. So we would like play the first set, then we play the second set, and then we play the first set as our third set, and nobody seemed to notice or give a shit. So that's everybody was either
Yep.
those people
Yep.
had left or they're drunk and they didn't care, like yeah. So right on,
Well,
man.
a lot of times what we do is especially when you play the 4 hour gigs, you do a lot of covers and stuff. So we'll play probably 3 hours of covers to 1 hour of originals.
Gotcha.
And just because that's what they want to dance to, that's the gig,
Sure.
if you don't
That's
want
what
to
they
play
know.
covers, right.
Yeah.
And but we'll get to the end, like at the sunrise we got to the end and ran out of material and I was like, okay, we're gonna play all of our originals again because I guarantee none of them remember that we've already played those. Like they're original songs. I've only got 245 monthly listeners. Like there's a
Yeah.
very small chance that
Right.
they're gonna recognize we played the songs again.
And it's
So
the end of
Right.
the night.
um,
You guys are properly lubricated and inebriated. Where even if you did listen earlier, you're not going to remember now, and maybe
yep,
this will drive it
Yeah.
yep,
home.
right. Well, and
Fantastic.
the goal is to play all originals eventually. I don't want to be a cover band. Like that is not the goal. I I love playing old school country songs. Like I'll probably always have one or two in the set. But right now I'm just at a point in my career where to get the important gigs, to get in front of the audiences where my originals will connect, it's you got to play the Sunrise Saloon in Missoula, Montana for 4 hours, and you got to play a bunch of covers because then the people like you. The bar has you back, and then you get to play your originals in front of them again.
Yeah.
So it's
Well, and
kind
I
of give
think
and take.
yeah, well, they'll remember you. You know, like I think every place you go to, there's going to be at least a handful of people that are going to look you over. You know, like they're going to seek you out and they're going to be fans, and that's how you win. That's how you win hearts. You know, and there ain't nothing wrong with what you're doing, man. I'm actually kind of I'm excited for you. Like I think like for what we do on our band stuff is usually like a studio project, meaning that like I'll write music, but then I'll farm out a guitarist over here and a bassist over here and and a drummer, and then we kind of all collaborate, go in together to make the finished song. If I ever did something live like what you're doing here, where it's just like a day's drive away, that's kind of the way to go. I think especially when you're first doing it, you want to be regional, where you're a lot more accessible to come back and repeat. Like I don't think I'd want to go too far away from home if I couldn't go there again in less than a year, or within a year. So I think what you're doing is great, man. Um, you'll have to come down and do
I
a dip down
appreciate it.
into
Thank you.
Utah next time.
Let me know. I'd love to.
Yeah, there's actually a country bar called the Westerner out here in Ogden that's pretty hopping, and they do bands. They have bands play, and it's got that whole
Okay,
rustic
right
thing
on.
going on. Yeah. All right,
You
man.
bet.
Well, what's next for you, man? Like, what do you got in the hopper here, um, working out?
Well, we've got three more acoustic tracks that we got tracked out, ready to go, all mastered. We're gonna get those out and do a little acoustic EP. We also have full band mixes of the same songs, and then we've got a couple of um, at least one or two tunes that are probably just gonna be singles. I think next year the goal is to get a full album recording going. But in today's market, it costs a lot to make an album, and there
Mm-hmm.
is no like there's not much of an ROI on a record nowadays, right?
There's
Like
no
in my
attention for it.
opinion, right. So for me, in my project, my studio work, what's on Spotify, is an advertisement for people to see or to
Right.
hear to book my to book me to play live. Like that's where I make my money. So I haven't really seen the need to crank out a full album because I can just go in, make EPs. As long as I'm continuing to create new music, like they're only gonna listen to one or two songs before they decide whether they're gonna book me or not. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think next year we're gonna have the money and a reason to have a full album. But so far, man, it's just been it's all been a learning experience. I feel like every
Sure.
time I reach the end of a recording project, I have learned so much that I'm like, man, I wish I could go back and fix all these different things. But it's like you got to continue the flow. You have to continue creating. So you're just like, okay, we learned, we're gonna release this, we're gonna make another one.
Yep.
So
And it's the best you could do
that's
at the
kind of what.
moment. Like I think that's like
Right.
at some point you have to let it go and go, you know what, this is the best I can do. It's where it needs to be at this time in my life. Next time I'll do a little bit better. And you're right, because
Right.
people don't have the attention span for and it's kind of steered, I think a lot of it's been kind of pre-programmed to listenership from streaming platforms like Spotify, where it's instant, and they're just one single track. So nobody really listens to music that way, like back in the day where you would go to the record store and buy the CD once it came out. So but I think in your situation, if you're going to tour and do shows and stuff, I think one thing that might be advantageous for you as far as just a merchandise to have like actual physical CD or a record or some sort of physical media, where an EP or something, because people will buy that stuff even if they never even open up the CD and put it in a machine or anything. They just have it, like, hey, I got it.
It's a souvenir. It's a collectible.
Yeah, exactly. So
And honestly, I'll get up on my old man soapbox for a second. I think it's a shame that attention spans have gotten us to the point where the art of the full album is not something that is going to give the financial ROI that it once did,
It never will.
because I think that you know the the full albums are an opportunity to tell a full story. Whether or not the narrative of all of the songs is directly connected from the style, the beats per minute, the key transitioning from one track to the next and building that full album, um, and presenting it as a whole. There's albums that I grew up listening to as a kid. I'm sure it's the same way with the ones that you grew up listening to, where you hear one song, you know what song's coming next, and your brain automatically starts singing the next song on the album. You know, um, but now, if
100%.
physical media is something that we can put out to be a souvenir, a collectible, something for people to hold on to, you know what? One day, kids are going to get back to reading the lyrics and the liner notes. Man, everything comes full circle. You know, vinyl is
Yeah, I think
outselling
100%. Yeah.
CDs. Man,
people are just seeking that out because it's different, you know. But you're right. Like when we first started our band thing last year is kind of when I really kicked it off for Z Frequency, which is where this podcast kind of spawned from. Was this band stuff? I told Matt, it's like, it'd be cool if we did a podcast and had, independent artists come on. But it was the single game. It was the Spotify game. It was like single after single after single every 6 weeks and putting out a new single. And I've kind of changed gears, like I'm like, I hate chasing this. Like I hate being subjected to doing it this way. And so part of me is like you, where you're like, Spotify is like the taste sample, like you're walking around in Costco and they have the sampled food, where like you can get a taste of it, but if you want the real thing, you're gonna have to come to the gig, or you have to go to like another site where you can buy the full album or whatever. But I think everything you're doing, it's fitting for you really well. And um, when you're young like you are, and have the ability to just do as many shows and tours as you can, like, soak it up, man. Like, love it, live the dream, because yeah, you're making memories right now. So, and if you're going from town to town, and these clubs are saying, yeah, he can come back anytime, like that's instantly an in for the next time you come around town, so um
Yep.
right on. So hey, if there was, I'll just we'll part it with this. If there was any advice you would want to give to an aspiring artist thinking about like playing gigs and maybe even doing like a regional tour, like, like a little tour stint, like, I don't know what they call them, mini tours. What would be the advice you'd give them?
Um, Take care of all the variables and make it as easy for yourself as possible before you hit the road. Have your, depending on what kind of mixer you're using, we're using an XR18. We had all of our channels lined up. We had presets made. We walked into our first gig and had a benchmark mix going. Like, there's
Mhm.
so many things that we did to prepare before we hit the road. My manager Beth, she's awesome, by the way. Shout out to Beth.
Cheers.
But
Yeah.
she made these day sheets for me that had all of the information for the venue we were playing at, all the information for the hotel we were staying at, and then some information for the next day, like what time we needed to leave in order to make it to the gig on time.
Ah,
And she made
awesome.
that for every day of the tour, and we laminated them, and then they're in the glove box of the van. And
There you go.
that kind of stuff to where, like, I could be crashed out in the back seat and nobody's got to wake me up to ask questions. I don't have to search through emails, and we streamlined everything so that we're just chilling and playing guitar, man. Like,
Yeah.
hey, this is fun. This is the fun part. We took care of
Right.
all the work before we left, and I think that that's the advice that I'd give is,
Cool.
um,
Are you
I
are you
do
cap
concrete when I'm not playing music.
Oh, okay, so
What's
that's
that?
the real. I was gonna say, you're capturing a lot of this too, aren't you? Like, I'm sure you've got video cameras and capturing this for like content and other stuff down the road.
Yep,
Once you get
yep,
done with your tour. So you said your real job is
100%.
concrete. Is that what you said? That's what the
Yeah,
your
yeah.
bay
So I
puke
do.
job.
Yeah, and something you do in concrete is it's an artisan craft, right? So
Right.
it's an art to some degree. And when that mud shows up, you have no, like, very very little control over the mud. The You can add retardant, you can add accelerant, you can add, water, you can do different things, but at the end of the day, if you get crappy mud, you got crappy mud.
Right.
If the mud is really sticky mud, it's just sticky. You can't put it back in the truck and send it back.
Right.
And
You're kind of
so
work. You got to work with what you get. So
Right. And so before the mud shows up, you make sure my boss, my brother-in-law, who's my boss at that job, he taught me that you take out every variable possible. You make sure everything is dialed, that all your forms are exactly where they need to be, all of your grade stakes are set, because you don't know what's going to happen when you start pouring.
right.
There's a million things. Your forms could blow out. You could, there's
Oh
just so
yeah.
much that could happen that's out of your control. And that's how I feel about tour. Is there's so much that could go wrong, that has gone wrong,
Right.
but because we had backup gear, we
And you're
because we were
prepared for it.
prepared,
Yeah, you're prepared for it.
right?
Exactly. And you
Mm-hmm.
have that element of
So
like, you know what? Things are probably going to go wrong. Like so you have that element of like this ain't over yet, you know. Every
yep,
show I've
yep,
ever done, there was always something. Every show I've ever done,
hundred
even
percent.
local gigs, there was always one little piece of the element, like a cable would go out, like you said, or like it was there was. I have yet to have a flawless show, which you know, but I've had shows that have been absolutely memorable, and I would consider a perfect show, but not a flawless one. So
Right,
right on.
hundred
So
percent.
are you gonna do this again soon? The tour, or like after you wrap it up, you're gonna take a break and then maybe hit it again in the fall, or like what's your plan for your touring? Now that you've
Yeah,
kind
we're
of
gonna come back. Go ahead.
go
What
ahead.
were you saying?
I was just saying now that you've
Um,
got this one kind of wrapped up, and you got your hands, your feet wet in the pool, if so to speak.
in June we're making. Last December we went down to Alabama, as a
Oh,
duo.
cool.
So in June I'm making another trip down to Alabama. That's where Beth, my manager, another shout out to Beth. Um, she lives down there, and I'm gonna go down there and spend a week with her and do some solo gigs. We got some duo gigs. Um, Her husband plays bass in, I don't know if you're familiar, you're not really country music fans, I know, but Jesse Daniel is a national act playing country music, and her
Okay.
husband plays for him. So we always get to jam and do some shows and do some writing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Um and
Are you
then
gonna go to
and then in
Texas?
October, no, not yet. I That's a bit far away, and it's the freaking the demographic is, or what's the word I'm looking for? The talent pool is so thick in Texas that when I go, I want to make sure that it's like I'm gonna be competitive and be able to accomplish something. You know what I mean? Like, if I were to just play a room of two people, and who, like, if I don't have the money for promotion, or if I don't have anything lined up, it doesn't really make sense financially. Whereas, like, in
Right.
Alabama, I'm staying for free with my manager, and then like I was gonna say, in October we're gonna do another run through Montana and Wyoming.
Okay.
Probably a 2-week run, maybe 20 days, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So we're gonna
I was
hit
gonna
some of these
say,
venues again.
yeah. Have Beth reach out, or you can reach out anytime. We'd love to have you back on here and see how it's going, later on, and yeah, maybe we can see out here in Utah. Like I'd come
You
out,
bet.
I'd
That'd
come
be
out and check
fun,
you out,
man.
man, for sure. Yeah.
That'd be rad. So
Heck yeah.
we're gonna have all of your links.
I could see if I could post something here
Got
real quick
you,
for it.
you Yeah, we can just throw up your link tree, really. So
There you go.
You bet.
the link on the screen right now, if you go there, it's going to be a launching pad for all of Cody's socials, the Facebook, the Insta, the Spotify, everywhere he is, you can get to from there. um
And
and
he's also on YouTube. He's also on Instagram. Facebook. Um, yeah, you're on
Yeah.
all of the socials. You've
So
got a presence. So
catch him
You bet. You bet.
catch him tomorrow night in Lewistown, Montana at the Stockyard Bar. April 24th in Helena, Montana at the Lewis and Clark. Gallatin Gateway near Bozeman on April 25th at the Westerner, and then wrapping up the tour in Cody, Wyoming at the Colonel on Saturday, April 26th. And then all you Pacific Northwesterners can catch him at the Little Red Hen the weekend after May 2nd and 3rd for 2 4-hour barn burning sets.
yeah,
You
it's
bet.
awesome,
You
man.
bet.
Dig it, man. Cool,
Cool. Well,
man. Well, we
Cody, it was
appreciate
it
you
was a
taking the
pleasure.
time, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me on. I really, really appreciate it.
yeah. And tell Beth
Anytime.
thank you. Thanks for just tell her thanks for reaching out. I love getting to know about all these musicians out here, and especially abroad. Like usually, like we started in August, I think, and it's just been mostly bands in the Utah area, just people we've known and stuff. So the fact that she reached out and was like, "No, they're from Washington," I'm like, "Yeah, cool." So,
Heck yeah.
and yeah, and you're great, man. You're great. You got a great sound. You got a great thing going on, and um, your music is great. Like I could sit and listen to that all day long. And I'm like, for somebody who's could
I,
technically
really,
say I'm not a country guy, I can listen to it
Yeah,
all day
so
long.
Beth, if you're
I
listening, you've
appreciate
already
it.
got two
Yeah,
fans in Utah. So let's start getting that phone rocking.
Yeah.
Let's get something booked down here. We'll do our part to get some asses in the seats or out of the seats and on the dance floor for
there you
Mr.
go,
Cody
man.
here.
So,
You bet. You
all right.
bet. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
No,
All right,
thank you. And
well,
yeah, if you get a chance, check Cody out. He's on Spotify. It's easy. Cody Bartels. Thanks again, man, and we'll do this again soon. Okay.
Sounds good. We'll talk soon.
all
All
right.
right. Peace.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Just
Peace.
hang out.